Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this fantastic Bally Space Invaders pinball machine. It's a super wide body. Look at it. Looks, well, I won't say who it looks like. It's a big one. There's all kinds of playfield space on this one. And on the previous video, it's a customer's that we're working on for him. On the previous video, we found that the power supply had a blown fuse and needed to be rebuilt. We rebuilt it, redid a bunch of the connectors, but we never figured out why the fuse had blown in the power supply. It was a fast blow when it should have been a slow blow, but I don't know for sure that that was the problem. So whenever I talked with the customer, he said he was having all kinds of flipper problems and that they just weren't quite right. And he has rebuilt these flippers. So we're going to go ahead and give him a score on his flipper rebuild. So Paul, get ready. We're going to score your flipper rebuild here. Whenever we were under there looking at it, I noticed a couple little things that are very minor, but that could be what was blowing the fuse. So we're going to check that out on this video, and then we're going to play this thing so you can see how much fun they were having back in 1980 when this thing came out. So let me pop up the playfield and we'll get a good look at these flippers. There are 4 of them, 2 full-size ones and 2 smaller ones. I call those the 2-inch stunners. That's a little joke for our buddy MRN Bricks that's watching. I read what you said. There's 4 flippers. Whenever you hit the left button, these 2 go. Whenever you hit the right button, those 2 go. So I'm going to pop up the playfield and let's check out the work that Paul has done on this beautiful machine, and we'll make sure that everything's all right with it. Okay, folks, so if you didn't see the previous video, we did a lot of work on the power supply. And the main problem was that it was blowing the main fuse, which you don't see too often. And we kind of chalked it up to, I believe, it was because they were using a fast blow fuse instead of a slow blow fuse, like the manual calls for. But I called Paul, talked to him on the phone, and he was telling me about that he had worked extensively on these flippers and had had a bunch of problems with them. So we're going to check it all out for him. So on this game, like I said, there's 4 flippers. The bottom 2 basically control the top 2. So the way it works is you hit the flipper button. He has new switches that are soldered in good. That's very nice. That's very nice. Paul, your flipper switches look excellent, buddy. Boy, you did a good job on that. And whenever you hit the switch, it basically grounds the coil. So this left one up here, let's see what color our wire is on the, it's blue. It's blue on the flipper switch. So that must be this. What? Whatever. But basically, you've already got the voltage going to this side, which is the banded side of the diode, so that's correct. If the diodes are on there correct, they are. Yeah, so the voltage should go to this side, the banded side. Okay, and then the end of stroke switch should go between the middle lug and the outside lug. And it should be closed, and then it should open whenever this pulls in. And then your ground should go on this end. Now notice there are 3 wires. That is because they're using that, I believe, to make this happen up here. Let's see if we can make sure that he's got this wired right. Okay, yeah, I see it's got a switch. Alright, so that's part of your end of stroke switch there. When this pulls in, that should open. Alright, Paul, your first problem is that's pretty tight. Basically, see how I get something different if I pull this in from up here? Wait. See how that opens up? But if you pull it in from here, It just barely opens up. That's where it's pulling from. Because this is basically pulling on this plunger. It's not pulling up here. There's a little bit of play, even in a brand new plunger. So, see how that's barely opening up? I would call that a 1/16th, maybe even a 32nd of an inch. It should be a little more than that. It should be more like that. Just so it's good and open. So that's the first thing. Now he's got an issue here where there's not much play here. You've got to, because it has to close this switch. Closing this switch is going to turn on this flipper. Right? So then up here, we've got the same issue. When this closes, you need that to open up. See how that's not really, that would probably arc across that. And you know, the reason that you put your end of stroke switches real tight like this is because you want the flippers to be powerful. But you don't have to have them powerful all the way to the end. You know, so if you have like 1/8 of an inch of a opening at the end, that's completely fine. So I want to make sure we've got this right, that these are correct. Oh yeah, they are. I can see it. So this one goes to that switch blade, and this one goes to that switch blade. So it's wired correctly. Basically, when that end of stroke switch opens, what it does is it adds this coil into the mix. So if that's shorted, you're just using this coil. It makes it much more powerful. When this opens, it adds this coil into the mix, which means that it's got a lot more resistance and you can hold the flipper up. Right? So if this is screwed up where it never opens, basically the flipper, when it's all the way up, will be too powerful and it will sit there and burn, you know, and it will blow a fuse, especially if it's a fast blow when it should be a slow blow. All right, so I adjusted it. Now notice how the blades, they don't go straight. They're bent over, right? That's typical. That's how it usually ends up. Basically, you need it to travel a lot more. So see how far that one's open? And see how tight this one is? And again, you can't pull from here. You got to pull from here, like it'll do. Now watch all of the travel that we get now. See how the small blade moves? And then whenever it's done, it's good and open. But then if you look at this one, look how far it moves and it still makes it. To me, that's perfect. Some people might not want that gap quite that wide, but to me, I don't think it affects the flippers. I think it'll be just fine like that. You got to remember too that they arc, so whenever they get, if it's close, that it will arc across it, especially if you're blowing fuses. So I did this one the same thing. Watch all the throw you get here. So look at that, just that one inside one. Now what's important for it to be adjusted right is it has to move, the small blade has to move when the big blade hits it. It's basically wiping itself against the contact face against the other contact face. And then this one that hits, I guess, is like a sound, or it's probably like the shoot sound. Okay, so I would say this side is perfectly adjusted, in my opinion. Of course, I did it, but if I was going to adjust it, that's how I'd adjust it. And I know that because I just adjusted it. All right, so here's the other one, the other side. Yeah, see, same issue. It's just too tight. That's probably going to arc across that. So you're basically, it's as if you don't have an end of stroke switch, which eventually will blow a fuse. What'll happen is when you hit the flipper, if you're just hitting it a little bit, it'll work fine for a while. But if you hold it down, or sometimes, you know, these switches even get stuck a little bit or something. If any little thing happens, it's probably going to blow a fuse, especially if it's a fast blow when it's supposed to be a slow blow. So I'm going to adjust that one out as well. Now this one looks toasty. So my guess would be that something happened where that one wasn't adjusted enough. And I can't even get the plunger to go in on this one. So why is that? It's because this has gotten so hot. You can see where it's melted the paper wrapper. The coil itself is probably still fine, but the sleeve inside of it has melted. And so the plunger can't get through it because there's a big mess in there. So we'll pull that off and swap the coil. He's got another one right here. And that's the same one that he's using there. Well, really that they're using on all four. So that will work just fine. So I'll pull that out so we can swap it, and I'll adjust both sets of the into stroke switches. I won't mess with this one yet, so we can see if once I put the new coil in where the plunger can move, we'll see if it ever opens that. All right, so here is our flipper coil. Now that wrapper is one of the newer ones, so this coil probably wasn't in there too long. And you can see the problem. It has gotten so hot that it melted that nylon sleeve in there, and so the plunger would no longer go through it. Now if you can get that nylon sleeve out, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. The actual coil is probably fine because it takes it a while to melt this coating off of the wiring. You can test it too with a multimeter. So if you can pop that sleeve out, sometimes you can get away with just replacing the sleeve. But he had a brand new coil right there, so I went ahead and put it on. Okay, now I have not messed with the end of stroke switch, so look at this. All I did was just put another coil on so this can move through it. It's got the same coil stop. So there's your problem. The switch is not opening, which means anytime you hit the right flipper, this one is just getting full power and it'll cook it. It's cooking it! It's baked, like Shango says. It's baked. Baked. Completely toasted. Okay, so I need to adjust that out. So again, don't be too worried about getting there's two things to remember. Don't be too worried about getting it real close. You want that thing to definitely be open. And then you don't want to pull it from here because your hand can push it in farther from here than what it can actually physically do. You want to push it in from here because that's how it pulls it. Okay, so see how I have the switches bent in so they open a little earlier and it gives it more play, or more throw I should say. Same with this one, see how they're bent in. Gives you plenty of throw, no problems. So I think it's going to play good now. There's only one way to tell. I guess we're going to have to play it. All right, so this is on the Internet Pinball Database. Wonderful site if you haven't been there. This is Silver Ball Mania, the machine that came out just before Space Invaders. A big wide body machine like Space Invaders. So notice how that is just a random machine that someone has out there. Notice how theirs is the same way. To get this little bar to open that up, you need to bend the switches in. It looks like they should be straight, but they actually, I'm just trying to show you this so you don't think that I'm the only one who does this. They actually are supposed to be bent in. Now the reason for that is because the way the switch stack is made. See that little brown spacer there? That spacer spaces it out so far that for it to be straight, whenever this goes around, it can't open it. So you got to bend the switches way in. And they've got both sides like that. Now if you look at a Star Trek, look at Star Trek. It's straight. They didn't have to bend it, but it's because the switch stack is made differently. It's a little bit older machine, and for whatever reason, they don't have that spacer. So instead of this switch being over a little bit, it's back in, so that they don't have to bend it back in. So it's just, all that matters is whenever the plunger goes in, that switch has to open or you'll burn up coils and fuses. So this is interesting. I looked up a few more of them. If they're older, if they're the earlier machines from 77, 78, and 79, they have the switch that's mounted closer that you don't have to bend as much. And then once it gets to about 80, they move to this switch with the extra spacer in it, and you have to bend them. And then they eventually switch to their linear design, and it uses the same setup. So this is Rolling Stones, which is just after Space Invaders. And then this is the famous 8-ball deluxe several years later, or I don't know, maybe 1 year later, many games later. And it's the same way. They have to be bent because that spacer moves all the switches out a little bit. And I'm sure there's a good reason for that, you know, and it doesn't really matter that much, but it's confusing to someone who doesn't do it all the time. You buy the switches and you put them on and they're straight and it looks like they're supposed to be straight, but nope, they're supposed to be bent. Have I beat this to death yet? Probably. All right, folks, it's viewer mail time. One of our faithful viewers, James, Mr. the King of Pound Town, sent us a package. Now, we're not asking anybody to send us any packages, but if people want to send me something, I have no problem with it. This is our address. So when he sent this, he told us, hey, I sent it the cheap way, so it's going to take way longer, but it didn't. It got here in like 2 weeks or a week and a half, something like that. He's from the United Kingdom. So send it the cheap way. If you're gonna, if that goes for anybody, if you're gonna send us something, as long as it gets here in one piece, send it cheap. Don't give those suckers a penny more than you have to. I'm all about us being poor or acting poor on stuff like that. So I opened it earlier. Obviously, it was better packaged than that. And Mr. James, the King of Pound Town, he was explaining to me what Pound Town is, and I had a guess, but I was completely wrong. I was way off. Okay, so here's the letter. Hi, Ronnie, Donnie, and Joe. Hi back. Hope this parcel finds you all well and good. It does. Ronnie, I gone done and got you a radio. A radio? Oh, wow. Oh, well, it ain't a radio. Maybe it's in... We'll look. Well, not a real one. Wah, wah, wah. I could put it with my fake Coca-Cola machine from New Wave Toys. If you don't know about those, go to newwavetoys.com. They gave us a fake Coca-Cola machine so we could show it to you folks. Very cool. Well, not a real one, but a radio-shaped tin with some shortbread biscuits in it. Couldn't resist buying it for you and hoping that once you've eaten the biscuits, you could perhaps use it for storing other things like valves. That would be a good thing to keep in there. Now, he said valves. We, over here, we call them, what do we call them? Tubes. So we'll check it out here in a minute, James, and see if it'll hold tubes. It's kind of got a nice little handle. Boy, they spent a bunch of money making that. Look, it's even metal. By the way, we've been working on Atari 2600 systems for those of you who like video game stuff. So I took 5 and made 1. That's pretty good. If you're wondering, it had a bad riot chip. Seen it 100 times. Actually, I've seen it 5 times. 4 times. Okay. Given I was posting that, I thought I'd try and throw a few other bits in the tin to make up a care package. So please find enclosed. I smell something. There's something in here. If I can ever get it open. I'll be back. I made it in. Please find enclosed a couple of Union Jack car air fresheners. Heck yeah. Yeah, I'll put those in my truck. You know, I am British. I'm of British descent. Because the whole country, you know, we fought a war and beat the British, so I probably shouldn't claim that like that. I think my people were from France, anyways. Lions. There's a town in France, Lyon, right? But I'll use these. That's pretty cool. I like them. I'm a big fan of the UK. I don't completely understand it. When I was a kid, we always called it England. What happened? I thought, I don't get it. And this says it's Scottish, which is part of the UK, I suppose. Okay, so that's cool. Thank you. A pack of Union Jack playing cards. Okay. Look. Union Jack playing cards. Exactly what you would expect. Where are they made? Oh, made in China. I see you've got the same thing going on over there that we got going on over here, huh? See, what I don't get is, why can't they be made there instead of there? Or why can't they be made there instead of there? You know, we got the same problem over here, though, so don't take that as a criticism. A sock puppet craft kit. I thought it might make a good alternative video project for the channel. Okay, let's see what this is. A sock puppet. It makes one dog puppet. I don't know that this will be good for the channel, but I'll tell you what. I have two nieces, and they would probably love this. One of them, especially, is into this kind of stuff. So we'll send that over to our nieces. Assorted British candy. Oh man, don't let Joey know. Fruit salad. Barat fruit salad. Oh, I've had some of this Barat stuff before. I don't know if it was fruit salad. Let me lay it down so we can get a good focus here. Has sugar, carbohydrates, and it's from Dublin. Hell yeah. That's quality. I bet I know what he's talking about there. We'll get to that, I'll bet, here in a minute. Look, James, two of them got busted up a little bit, but they'll be alright. Look at that. Good as new. Assorted candies. Okay. Poppets toffee. Now, we do have toffee over here, but not from this company, of course. Packed in the UK. Boy, that's cool. What's it got in it? Milk, it says. It has allergens. Valio Food Group, Dublin. Is that the same place here? Yeah, same company. All right, well, that's cool. We will eat those and enjoy them. You know, that's kind of stuff where, like, let's say somebody gives you this and you eat one, you don't like it. I just eat the rest of them because there's only like a little bit. We're going to get through it together. Okay. Round trees since, what's that say? 1881, I think. Fruit pastilles. Vegan friendly. Can you resist the chew? I don't have any problem with vegans. I mean, I know y'all were expecting me to say something. I have no problem. If you want to be a vegan, you go right on, brother or sister. Ooh, wait a minute. See how that says S.A.? That's Spanish. So maybe this was made in Spain? Oh, it's Nestle. No, it's in Ireland too. Maybe. European. Okay. We also have more Barat Blackjack. Yeah, buddy. Very cool. Thank you for all the sweets. And we got something else here. Let's see. Okay, that must be coming up. Okay. A China-made acrylic paint pen. Sorry, wanted you to see what we have here. Let's see here. Daler and Rowney. You know, sometimes you can't help but buy from China. I buy stuff from China all the time. I'd rather not, but you know, if you have to, you have to. Acrylic paint marker. Water-based color. There, that's good. Well, it's acrylic, so. Shake several times. Press the tip down until the paint flows. Recap tightly after use. Can be used on many surfaces, including paper, fabric, wood, ceramic, pinball machines, plastic, glass, and more. That's pretty cool. And it's in several different languages. English, French, Espanol, Dutch. Did I get that right? Italian, Portuguese, NL. Oh boy. This is the hill I die on, probably. NL. What would that be? Netherlands. Yeah, Netherlands. PL. Polish. I was about to say, love my Polish people, but then I didn't. Because I was like, oh, that's going to piss off all the other people that I didn't say I love them. I love everybody. We had some Polish people come by the shop. They were cool as hell. This guy came in, he bought an arcade game and shipped it back to Poland. He was from Poland. He was not an American. He was a Polish guy who was in our shop from Poland, bought an arcade game, and then built a crate in our front room and shipped it back to Poland and then left. What a stud. And then EL. Ooh. Ooh. Look at this. This looks Greek or something. What is EL? I have no clue. Not familiar with that one. EL. Boy, this is probably the most boring thing I've showed you on my channel in a while, but I like it, okay? People send me presents. I want to look at them. EL. That's a yellow paint marker. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I've never seen that brand over here, James. A few disposable paint mixing pots. Saves you always using the lids of the bottles. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Well, that's cool. Well, thank you, James. We'll use those. I'm going to try sending this through Surface Mail, as it's half the price over air. So hopefully it'll get there in 6 to 8 weeks. It was like 2 weeks. It wasn't bad at all, or less than 2 weeks. Thanks again for all your videos, and that's to all three of you. All very enjoyable, and long may they continue. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Ronnie, try not to let the troll comments bother you. It's not necessarily the trolls. I haven't fully explained what bothers me about the comments. People will always try and knock what you do when you post it online regardless. Just try to look at the positive comments instead. They far, far outweigh the negative. If you can drop me a single line email when you get this, just so I know it got there. Whoops. It got here about a week ago, James. I'll see if I remember to email you and let you know that. Oh, I found more candy. Palo. Each 3 mints contains energy, a bunch of calories, less than 1%, I guess, of your daily recommended value, maybe. What? 18,000 calories? I must have that all screwed up. It must be 18 calories. The mint with the hole. The mint with the hole. Interesting. Nestle again. S.A. I think that means Spanish. It's in the UK. York, which is England, I believe, and then Ireland, which is Ireland, but both the UK. Sugar, and oils. Heck yeah. Okay, so these are the sourdough cookies. So, thank you, James. We appreciate it. Let me see if this will hold valves. Yes, it will. Look at that. I bet there's room for... Look at this. We can just keep going. Shall I have another? Look at that. All right, James. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you as always. Now I'm going to go send them an email and let them know that we got it a while back. So back to our regularly scheduled video. All right, I showed a little bit of this in the previous game. The previous video. Symmetric. That's the word I couldn't remember. The playfield is not symmetric. It's got different stuff going on the left and the right, even with the lights and things. So it's kind of interesting. The Backbox is just amazing. One of the best looking games ever. Period. There's no modern game that looks this good, in my opinion. It looks a little dated because they don't do that infinity mirror thing anymore, but the reason they don't do it is because it costs money to do it. But back in the day, if you went to the movie theater, the marquee, the posters for the movie theater had chase lights like that on them. I imagine carnivals still have lights like that. I haven't been to a carnival in a while, but it was kind of like a carnival atmosphere. And then it kind of has this, since the back glass is mirrored, it has this kind of rock and roll, baby, look to it, And also some of the plush cranes back in the day that you would see at the movie theaters and stuff. At the top, it would say Big Sweep Crane or something, and it had these chase lights on it. We've done a bunch of videos on some of those crane machines here on our channel and have fixed that sometimes, those chase lights. Whenever he dropped it off, he mentioned that the chase lights didn't work, but they worked fine once I got the power supply right. So the boards in the back we showed on the previous video are all new with the exception of the soundboard. And one of the most interesting things is, look at the displays. Those are actually LED displays, but they look just like the plasmas. So whatever company made those, it's pretty much a perfect aesthetically. It looks just like the plasma ones. I'm talking 100%. If I couldn't see the little, the little boxes that actually display, that actually are the LED, what do they call those? I don't remember. But the little 3, 4, 5, 7-digit LED, the little box with the number in it, if I couldn't see that, it looks identical to the plasmas. 100%. Same color and everything. Little stuff like how at the end of each one of the segments it fades out a little bit. Yeah, it looks exactly like the plasmas. I was kind of surprised when I saw them. And we've done a lot of the LED displays before, but I think it has something to do with, since it's behind that piece of glass, it's sitting back in there about 2.5 inches, something like that. It just kind of hides it a little bit, but they look identical. Beautiful, beautiful. So let me show you one of the little tricks that it does when you start the game. So it's doing the exact same little marching sound that it does in the video game. In the video game, they made that sound with a little timer chip. So I don't believe that sound, the Bally soundboard has that timer chip on it on the pinball machine. They're just kind of emulating it. They're playing a recorded file of it instead of actually doing it with discrete stuff. But it does this the whole time you're playing, and it gets faster as you go along, just like in the arcade game. So if you're younger and you weren't around back then, the Space Invaders arcade game was one of the biggest deals ever. I mean, it completely changed the arcade industry, the coin-op industry, and they made a couple 100,000 of them at least. You know, so there were a ton of them around. I would turn it up even louder, but you have to do it in the Backbox. You know what? To hell with it. I'm gonna turn it up even louder. You got to be able to hear this because the game, the noises help make the game. So I'm gonna turn it up, and Paul can turn it back down if he'd like. Okay, I looked at the displays while I was back there. They're the pin score displays. All right, let's play it a little bit and see if it blows a fuse. It's kind of wild playing it with the 4 flippers. Now, one thing about a wide body, they play a little slower because the ball goes left to right a lot like that. See how it just went? So theoretically, holding the flippers up will not burn them up. It won't hurt anything if you've got the end of stroke switches adjusted right. That's what they're there for. Now here in our shop, I think it's a little unlevel. Whoa. Missed it. I'm trying to hit that captive ball. Oh, I forgot there were drops on the left, too. All right. Okay, I'm gonna play a game with the lights on so everybody won't complain completely. I mean, they'll still complain a little bit. There's a glare. Accommodate me in my couch. This thing's adjusted pretty well. The way it's hitting the little switches up there is all pretty good. And he's got the flippers on a hair trigger. I keep accidentally hitting them by just barely touching the flipper button. Yeah, I've got it. It's sitting. It's not completely level. All right, we'll play one more. Let me see if I can do alternate. Let's see if I can do alternate lighting. What do you think? Alternate lighting. Damn lights burn out. Oh well. I have another light here, but I guess the bulbs burn out. The alternate lighting's not going to work, people. When the rain comes, they'll run and hide their heads. When the sun shines, they'll slip into the shade. It's just such a huge playfield. I mean, there's room everywhere. I talked to Paul and he said, man, I was playing it. I had everything you could have on it. I had it all jacked up. I was just about to roll it, and then boom, it just all went dead. Boom, 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 boom. Right down the middle, folks. All right, to finish it up, I'm gonna play it in the dock like it's meant to be played. I don't know what kind of freaks do it with the light. I mean, look, folks. Supposed to play pinball with the lights out. I keep accidentally hitting that flipper button because it's adjusted so close, it's perfect. The actual switch on the cabinet. That's kind of like personal preference, though. You know, that's how you would. That's just how you'd get used to it, whichever way it was. Oh, couldn't quite get it. Crazy. No fuses blowing. I think we're good. Whoa, messed that up. All right, so there you go, folks. That is Bally's beautiful Space Invaders pinball machine. So I hope you enjoyed it. Go back and watch the first video if you want to see more of the boards and the power supply. But it's one of the coolest looking games ever. It just, I mean, they went all out. They might have went too far. Do you think? Nah, they probably didn't go too far. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to check out the first one. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. And if you want to know how you can support our channel, there is a link down below to Amazon. If you're going to buy anything on Amazon, use our link, and it gives us a tip, basically, a little piece of whatever you buy. You don't have to sign up or anything. Just click our link and then buy whatever you're going to buy. Such a cool game. Fantastic. Make sure to check out my brother Donnie as well. His channel is linked down below. The name of the channel is My Brother Donnie. So I will see you over there. I'm usually with him. We do arcade games, pinball machines, and jukeboxes. This one, look at this thing. That infinity glass is just never gets old. We do arcade games, pinball machines, and jukeboxes. My brother Donnie does old buildings, old vehicles, things like that. I'm over there with him on his channel. He's got a farm. He's kind of crazy. So I will see you over there on his channel. But I'll see you back here in a couple days with our next video. We're filming all kinds of stuff right now. So we've got a big log of stuff that we're going to be uploading for you folks. So you can see some of these fine machines, these classic bits of yesteryear, coin-operated goodies. We've got in all kinds of cool games right now that we're repairing for people or fixing for ourselves. So I wanted to make sure I at least filmed a little bit of gameplay of this one because it's just such an iconic game. I was at I'll tell you, just a quick little anecdote on this one. I went to a guy's house one time where he had a bunch of games for sale. This was about 10 years ago. He had everything. I mean, the guy had just crap everywhere, all kinds of games. And in his barn, I mean, legit straight up dirt floor barn, in his barn, sitting up on a shelf, he had the frame, just the back glass, sitting there. And he was proud of it. At the time, he wanted like $150. And back then, nobody was paying that really for parts. If you really needed it for your machine, you would have paid it. But the rest of the machine, nowhere to be found. The guy had all kinds of stuff, but a lot of it had been parted. We bought a bunch of control panels off of them that were just laying all over the barn for arcade games. So he had like a Paperboy and just all kinds of stuff like that. And so we ended up just getting tons of stuff from him, and we bought probably I don't remember how many arcade games, but mainly it was parts and a whole ton of arcade monitors and stuff. But at the time, we weren't doing a bunch of pinball stuff. We were doing a little bit. But he didn't. I think we bought one or two games from him. I think we got like a Fireball Deluxe or a Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man or something like that from him. But we weren't really into pinball all that much at the time as far as buying parts or anything. So I left that thing sitting there in his barn, but he was selling stuff to everybody else. I'm sure the next guy in the door probably got it. But, and you know, they look really impressive lit up, but sitting in a barn with no electricity, not so much. So, but there you go. The beautiful, super wide body Bally Space Invaders.